what we have so we can decide if we need sine, cosine, or tangent. So looking at your triangle, it is a right triangle. There are always going to be right triangles. The first thing I would start by looking at is, do you have a hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is always the diagonal. It's always the longest side. Do I have a hypotenuse in this case? Yes, it's going to be 16. So put an H right there. That is automatically the hypotenuse. That takes out one of the two options. Automatically, that's going to take out tangent. I can't use tangent because tangent doesn't use a hypotenuse. So I'm either down to sine or cosine based on what is left. So if I'm 63, let's say I'm standing right here, literally standing here, I need to decide, is X adjacent to me or is X opposite from me? So if it's literally right next to me, would that be A or would that be O? A, because it's next to me. Opposite is technically jumping across. There's nothing over here, so I'm not using opposite. So which thing, sine, cosine, or tangent, uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. So I'm going to choose to use cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm doing cosine of 63 equals, and now what has to be in the numerator of my fraction? No, not hypotenuse. Not 1. X. X is adjacent. Adjacent needs to go in the numerator. So adjacent is X, that's going to go up top. Hypotenuse is technically always the denominator if you're using the hypotenuse. So the longest side is 16. That's going to go down here. So now, like yesterday, I'm going to set it up. I'm going to make my cosine into a fraction. I have a different color. I'm going to put this over 1, boop, and then I'm going to cross multiply. So I have 16 multiplied by cosine of 63 equals X times 1, which is just X. The good thing about this problem is X is by itself. The whole point of every single math problem you've ever done in your life is to isolate X, get X by itself. You want X to be X equals 2, X equals 3, X equals negative 27. X is by itself, so all I have to do is multiply these together, and then that's my answer. So my calculator's gone. Okay, so in your calculator, remember, like yesterday, you're doing 16 times 63 cosine. So 16 times 63, and then you press cosine, and then you press equals. If you're not sure if you pressed equals enough times, you could literally continuously press equals. It's not going to change. Nothing's going to happen. So you should get 7 point, since it's 2.6, I'm going to say 7.3 because that 6 is going to round it up. So X is approximately 7.3. And you don't have to put the squiggles if you don't want to. But what that actually is finding is this missing length on the triangle. So this length is actually 7.3. Okay, so we are going to do another one together. Let's jump to number 5. Let's just skip number 3 for now. Let's go to number 5. There's specific problems I like to do. So number 5, we need to decide what we have, and then we need to pick if we're using sine, cosine, or tangent. So for number 5, I would start by deciding, do I have a hypotenuse? No, this is the hypotenuse. I have nothing here. So I am not using the hypotenuse at all. So automatically out of sine, cosine, and tangent, which one automatically is going to be the one I have to use? Tangent. It's the only one that doesn't use the hypotenuse. So tangent is automatically going to be it. I have to use tangent. I have a 50-50 chance of setting up my fraction correctly because opposite has to go on top, adjacent has to go on the bottom. So if I'm literally standing on 52, this is where I'm at. Which one is opposite of the angle? X. X is opposite, so I'm going to put a little O here. And then directly next to it is not the hypotenuse, because I don't have a hypotenuse. That is going to be adjacent, because adjacent literally means next to. So I'm going to say tangent of 52, or tan of 52. And then what should be in the numerator of my fraction? X over 20, because opposite has to go in the numerator. So X is going in the numerator. And then it's the same process as yesterday, same process as number one. I'm going to make tangent into a fraction. So take a second, put it over 1, cross multiply. And as you get good at these, you'll realize where you can kind of combine steps, which is fine. But you need to at least show this first part. So I have 20 times the tangent of 52. This is where x is already by itself. So all I have to do is multiply, which is nice. In the calculator, you're putting 20. And then you're timesing by 52 tangent. Because it says tangent 52, you got to plug it in backwards. So times 52. Tangent is tan, T-A-N. Boop. You're going to get a decimal. Press equals again, just in case. 25.59. So what would be my decimal? 25.6. Okay, so try number 7. Just go directly underneath it. Try number 7. Try to see to figure out what you have. Do you have an adjacent? Do you have an hypotenuse? Do you have an opposite? Think about you literally being where 26 is at in reference to the rest of the triangle. So you have to figure it out. So if I'm 26, I first should look, do I have a hypotenuse? Yes. What is the hypotenuse? Not 11. It's always the longest side. So this should be H automatically. If I'm standing at 26, think about me literally physically on the triangle. Is 11 opposite or is it adjacent to me? Opposite. Since it's going across, it's opposite. So I have a hypotenuse and I have an opposite. Which one uses opposite and hypotenuse? Somebody just said it. Sine. So I'm going to use sine. Sine is technically, and just like in your formula sheet, you can look, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm going to do O over H. Yes. Yes, it is weird. So sine of 26 degrees is always with the sine, cosine, or tangent. Opposite is 11. Hypotenuse is x. And it does look weird. It's different from how we did number 1 and how we did number 5. I'm still using the same method. I'm going to make sine into a fraction. I'm cross multiplying this time. So I'm doing x times sine of 26 equals 11 times 1 is 11. The x is not by itself. So how do I get rid of sine? Divide. So to get rid of sine of 26, I'm going to divide by both sides. So instead of in the calculator, instead of multiplying like we've been doing, now we're going to divide. So in a calculator, clear out your calculator, make sure it's clear. I'm going to do 11. Fancy fraction is just division, so divide. You can't put sine first, so I'm going to put 26 sine. And then press equals. So you get around 25 point. And since this is 0.9, I'm going to put it as 0.1. So try to look at number 9. We're just going to kind of work down this side. Try to think about what you have in your problem. I'll give you a minute. The hardest part is figuring out, should you use sine, cosine, or tangent? Take a second and look at where you're at on your triangle. Try to figure out if you have opposite. Try to figure out if you have hypotenuse. Try to figure out if you have adjacent. Hypotenuse is always the back. Going to December. Yes. Hypotenuse is on the right triangle, like the actual hypotenuse is always the longest diagonal. So it's how it works. So it's not like that. Yes. Yes. That way. Yes. So what's on time on your and it's been 1 hour. I know. Okay, can't. Yeah. Yes. It was this one. I just tasted it, right? Anyways, that must be right. Why don't you try this one? This is the one I'm old now. It's that way. So it's just well, not 38 this side, but there's nothing there. They all give you their answers. So there is no hypotenuse. Yes. Pretty great, right? This is the corner, right? That's. And there's the adjacent goes. So which one is the opposite of 30? Isn't 13 perfect? Like that. Okay, so each one the sign that way. And then. Those sign, oh, should use sign. So what's your fraction that I'm never going to so you inspire step also because we have off from 3%. It's not. At first, I was just gonna agree to it, but then during some period, like 30 days, like cosine, but you don't have a really mean. And it's like broken. So, no, so your longest side, and that's why we don't have to ask. And should I do this or can I just let it? Okay, so number 9 is a tangent problem. The longest side is this side, but we have nothing here. So if there's nothing, that is the hypotenuse, but there's literally nothing there. So I can't use that side because there is nothing on the hypotenuse. So I can't use H because there's nothing on H. So that automatically is going to take out sine and cosine because there is no hypotenuse. So automatically I'm left with tangent. I just need to figure out which one's opposite and which one is adjacent to go on top versus the bottom. So if I'm standing literally right here, I'm on 38. Which one is opposite of 38? 13. 13 is opposite. Which one is adjacent? X, because adjacent is right next door to it. There is no H. I cannot use H, so I have to use tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to say tan of 38 equals what would have to be my fraction? No. Yes. Yes. 13 over X. And then I'm going to cross multiply, making tangent into a fraction. So if I cross multiply, it's going to look a little funny because it's X times tangent. 13 times 1. X is not by itself. So what do I have to do? Yes. Perfect. So divide by tangent of 38. And then in a calculator, you're going to type in 13 divided by 38 tangent. Oh, crap. 13 divided by 38 tangent. Press equals. So X is about, and you don't have to put the squiggles if you don't want to, 16.6. So we're not skipping any of these. Start working on them. If you want to set up the fraction first and have me check your fraction, I'm okay with that. If you want me to check your answers after you're done, that's fine. If you want to try one and have me check it, that's totally fine. Just call me over, raise your hand. Yep, I'll come over right now.